Spain and Belgium meet up in the quarterfinals in Inglewood. The last two quarterfinals are tomorrow, Norway versus England and Argentina versus Switzerland. The World Cup Championship match is Sunday, July 19th in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Dodgers are back in action tonight. They start a 3-game series at home against Arizona. The Major League Baseball All-Star break starts after Sunday's game. Kawhi Leonard's trade to the Toronto Raptors has been put on hold by the NBA. The NBA said it will not make the trade official until the league completes its investigation into an alleged salary cap scandal involving Leonard. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer is accused of violating salary cap rules to pay Leonard extra money through an outside company. Stay tuned on this mess. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record, the votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show here at KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Meat Fridays right here with our regular contributor, Gina Towns, and our very special guest and regular contributor, Diallo Brooks, will be joining us in just a moment. I do believe, however, that Donald Trump likes to make news on Thursday night or Friday morning, so that here on Fridays we get the opportunity to break news in ways that many other shows across the country don't. People are heading home for the weekend. So that compels me to speak to what just happened. There's an empty chair where the election commission in the United States used to sit at this hour. This week, effective about 10 hours ago, the federal agency built to help America run its elections lost every single one of its commissioners. On Thursday night, President Trump fired the last two members of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, Thomas Hicks and Benjamin Hovland, by email. The commission's lone Republican, Christy McCormick, was pushed out too, asked to resign rather than be fired outright. A fourth seat had already been empty since April. That means that the Election Assistance Commission, the EAC, now has 0 commissioners. Not a partisan majority, not a quorum problem, 0. If you've never heard of the EAC, that's by design. It doesn't run elections. States and counties do that. What the EAC does is quieter, but no less important. It certifies the voting machines your local election office uses. It maintains the National Voter Registration Form used in nearly every state. It distributes federal grants that pay for things like poll worker training and election security upgrades. And it gives local officials, Republicans, Democrats alike, a place to compare notes and best practices. It was built deliberately to be boring and bipartisan. Congress created it in 2002 after the mess of the 2000 election, specifically so it would be insulated from whoever happened to be president. 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, evenly split, confirmed by the Senate. That's not an accident. That's the whole point. So when a president fires all 4 seats at once, with the midterms just 4 months away, that's not routine personal management. That's dismantling the one federal body whose entire reason for existing was to stay above the partisan fray. The timing matters here as much as the act itself. This didn't happen in a vacuum. It came days after the Supreme Court handed down a ruling that overturned a 90-year-old precedent, a 1935 case called Humphrey's Executor, that had protected the independent agency officials from being fired at the president's whim. That precedent existed for exactly this reason: to keep federal agencies like the FTC and, yes, election commissions from becoming extensions of whoever sits in the Oval Office. Now that wall has a hole in it, and the EAC is its first casualty. And it's not the only warning sign. Earlier this year, a Democratic commissioner on the separate Federal Election Commission was also fired. She didn't challenge it in court. So we still don't know or have a clear legal answer to a pretty basic question. Can a president simply clear out a commission Congress designed to be immune from exactly the kind of politics that we are experiencing? We may be about to find out if any of this week's fired commissioners decide to sue. Now, to be fair, and a good editorial ought to be fair, the White House isn't hiding its reasoning. A spokesman said the president reserves the right to remove individuals that may not be totally aligned with the important task of securing elections, and pointed to the Supreme Court ruling as the legal basis. The administration says replacements are coming, though any of the commissioners will need Senate confirmations and no timeline has been given. If you believe the executive branch should have more direct control over agencies that were previously shielded from it, this looks like a scandal and more like a president exercising power over the courts that the courts and the Senate just confirmed. But finally, here's what we should worry about. Regardless of the party, for the next several months, through the heart of the midterm election season, there's no one at the EAC to certify a new voting machine, resolve a dispute, or answer a state's questions. The agency isn't leaning one way or the other. Politically right now, it simply isn't there. Whatever you think about this president or the last one, or the one before that, a country holding an election deserves a functioning referee, even one with a narrow, unglamorous job. Right now, that referee's chair is empty, and that should concern anyone who wants to win and participate in the next election. Whoever wins it, to be one that both sides can ultimately trust. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, Gina Towns and Diallo Brooks right here on Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's sharp. She's fearless. I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how I was going to get clicks, stop it now. She's that girl, and she's bringing all of that to your radio this summer. Amanda Seales is here. I am Amanda Seales. Comedian, artist, actress, activist, truth teller. The woman who never bites her tongue is coming to KBLA Talk 1580. I'm coming! And baby, the conversations are about to be unmatched. Every Friday, she's going to be lit noon to 2 p.m. and back again 4 to 6 p.m. Starting Friday, July 17th, only on KBLA Talk 1580. Amanda Seales, keeping it real, keeping it raw, and keeping it rooted. Politics, pop culture, Black excellence, the stuff they don't want us talking about. Amanda's talking about all of it.
You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works.
This is not your average radio show. This is a Seales Summer. Fridays, noon to 2, 4 to 6. Starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't just listen. Tune in.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Diallo Brooks, with over 25 years of experience in social justice and civil rights, Diallo has been a pivotal figure in promoting policies that foster safe, healthy, and thriving communities. He currently serves as the founder and CEO of Civic Vision Strategies, a strategic consulting firm empowering organizations through transformative leadership development and community engagement strategies. As the former senior equity fellow at the Schott Foundation for Public Education, Diallo bridged the gap between national policymakers and grassroots education justice organizations to advance progressive racial justice policies. Diallo, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you for having me, Jesse.
Diallo, why don't we start with the breaking news before we go to some of these other issues, including student loans and what's going on in that particular space. The President of the United States gutted the EAC. There is no referee for the machines that will be used by the federal government in the various states and counties throughout the United States at this hour. And he's doing it during the midterms. Any concerns in that space?
There's always concerns. Anytime Trump makes moves like this to dismantle government commissions that are meant to serve the American people, to protect the American people, and to create a fair environment in which we operate, we should be concerned. Particularly as he's making these decisions right in the heat of midterm elections coming up. And, you know, I think part of the problem for a lot of us is that we also have to categorize the Republicans and Trump into the same conversation, because, as you know, Republicans have long sought to dismantle many of the systems in government which are allowed to protect our communities, right? And particularly our communities, Black and brown communities, marginalized communities, folks that have been kind of left out of the process. And so I feel like there's also this Republican wind behind Trump that allows them to dismantle a commission like this, particularly as it relates to elections, because we know that their strategy is to have less people participate, which allows them to hold on to power. Also, there are grand plans by this administration to implement new systems around voting, i.e. making sure that having a citizenship litmus test that folks have to affirm to in order to vote, voter ID process that they want to universalize, being able to see mail-in ballots before they go out to folks through the postal service, have states send those ballots, send those voter files to the federal government in order before they actually move through the United States Postal Service. So all of these things that are in motion, the dismantling of this commission, and you mentioned it before about, you know, verifying and making sure that we have working, operable, and fair and trustworthy machines at our voting and at our polling places. This commission being dismantled is incredibly problematic, and we should be paying very close attention. And you also said he's doing it Friday afternoon, low news cycle. You know, while it's reported on, it's something that can easily get buried and folks miss. Now, I will say that I'm sure this will have some sort of court process around how the decisions are made to re-implement this commission or recompose this commission. I think there will be fights around that. But I don't have a whole lot of confidence given the makeup of this particular court.
I appreciate that, Dalo. It's shocking news to me, but I guess it's not shocking to many Americans who understand that we have never had a president who has sought to weaken the right to vote quite like Donald John Trump. Gail, let me pivot. Let me use this opportunity to pivot to the student loan space. Can you give us an overview of what is generally taking place in the student loan space and what the latest measures are and why we should also be concerned?
Yeah, well, this all comes in the form of the changing, the dismantling of the Department of Education, because the student loan space sits within the Department of Education. That is one of their primary responsibilities, is to manage student loan processes. And what we see right now, and I've had the opportunity to work within the U.S. Department of Education, and the whole student financial aid system was revamped during the time I was there, and really trying to make it easier for communities to be able to move and fill out the forms, have the information they need to participate and get the financial support that they needed. Also, there was also a move by the Biden administration to get rid of some of the student loan debt that so many Americans had held, and was a financial kind of albatross for a lot of folks in this country. And what they're trying to do is actually move away from kind of this federal role around financial aid, and it's going to push more students, more families into the private loan market, which can be problematic and oftentimes can be predatory, which will also lead to more debt for many communities. So they're capping how much students can actually take out for their loans throughout their college careers. And it's going to have a dramatic impact on families around the country. And also, you know, have to pay attention to the deadlines for applications. And oftentimes your state applications come before that. I think the deadline was June 30th, so the deadline's passed for the previous school year, but it'll be June 30th, 2027 for the 26-27 school year to get that information in. But shrinking the amount of dollars that the federal government can be responsible for as far as student loans is going to hurt particularly low-income families that are seeking support to be able to send their children to college. And it's going to increase the amount of debt that young people come out of college with. The skyrocketing prices already exist in colleges. I just had a daughter that graduated. And so we know how much universities cost. And that price doesn't seem to be flattening or going down. And so it's going to have a huge impact on families.
You know, Diallo, I've always considered the idea of relieving the debt of student loans as a way to position their lives to ultimately become better tax generators. That is, without carrying the burden of student loans and having to pay down that note every single month, maybe even for the rest of your life, depending upon what kind of education you've received, postgraduate, etc. It seems to me that it's in the government's interest to give these Americans the fresh start that they deserve so that they can become tax-paying citizens in different categories that allow them to generate revenue that ultimately benefits the federal government anyway. Isn't there an argument that to restore these Americans to a space without debt, to reprieve them, and give them the standing that they need to become the kind of citizens that we expect of them?
Jesse, that's an excellent point. I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's the way elected officials, our government, our country should be thinking about higher education. It is in the public good to make sure that all communities have access to public education, but also have access or higher education, but also to have access without the huge amounts of debt that put people behind the 8 ball in order to try to get that education, to be able to get the jobs. And also we're seeing now in this current Trump economy that folks are having trouble even getting jobs, having gone through the fact of attending universities, right? Graduating from universities, getting degrees. And yet they carry this debt without the job waiting for them at the end of the tunnel, right? And so I think it's in the best interest of our country to invest in education. There are places around the world that have free college education for their communities. And those places are doing very well because their population becomes more highly educated, becomes better participants in the economy of that particular country. Those countries end up safer. Those countries have less corruption. They have less recidivism in their, prison systems, and they're doing the things necessary to make sure that their citizenry have the tools that they need in order to be successful, to be contributors to the economy in a productive way.
I was Googling an interpretation of the word reprieve in the 17th and 18th century at the hour of the writing of the Constitution. And reprieve meant the forgiveness of debt. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about expansive presidential powers, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 is very clear. He shall be commander and the militia of the several states, and he shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons. I put a lot of emphasis post-incarceration on this question of the forgiveness of 77 million Americans, which from my perspective, the President of the United States and the court's perspective has the unconditional and absolute authority to be able to do, should they ever choose to. But very little emphasis is placed on the word reprieve. The president of the United States has the power also to wipe out people's debts in the United States, to fully forgive debt and restore them to as if it were a new man and a new person. So when Joe Biden ventures down the avenue of forgiving student loan debts, he doesn't have to go to Congress to do it. He doesn't have to go to the court system to do it. It is solely a fiat of the executive branch of government to be able to do it. You're only looking for a president who is willing to grant that kind of reprieve and mercy to the American people so that they can begin their life anew. There is nothing in the world like moving from chattel slavery to debt slavery. Diallo.
Exactly. And I think that you once again, you're kind of batting 1,000 a day on this. And it's really about what's best for the social good of our country, of our citizenry. And the other role of government is the protection of its citizenry, right? And the protection, we often get into guns and military and those things, but the protection is to make sure that folks have food on their table, to make sure that folks have access to a healthy living, that they're able to live and thrive in communities. That's part of the protection that makes us all safer, that helps us thrive and makes us stronger as a nation. And it's imperative that our government leans in that direction. And I agree with you 100% that, the forgiveness and to be able to forgive, but also to help to restore the humanity of folks, because it's really about humanity.
The president of the United States, Diallo, I know we only have about a minute and a half before we came forward, also announced today that he was not going to sign the housing legislation, that he is more determined than ever to pass the SAVE Act. Your initial thoughts?
I mean, once again, it's this president living in the mud, has his own agenda, and doesn't want to do what's necessary to protect the American people. We see this at every step of the way, that this president is not living in a reality of governing for all. This is about governing for his own ego, his own agenda. And this is just another example of that, because it's obviously Congress has moved in that direction. His fellow Republicans were a part of that. And he wants to stand on the sidelines as that particular piece of legislation moves.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Sarah Matthews and Daniel D. Honor Mode. I want you to know that when we come forward after the break, I'm going to ask Diallo Brooks to answer your questions. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The family of Black college athlete Nolan Wells is meeting with Reverend Al Sharpton in New York City.
I'm telling you, don't rush to judgment saying it was not racism, because we do not know.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump is calling for records, witness statements, and autopsy results to be released, saying race may be a factor because Nolan was the only Black person in the July 4th group. Haitians and Syrians under temporary protected status lose legal work authorization today after a Supreme Court ruling allowed Homeland Security to end their status. The change affects about 350,000 Haitians and 6,000 Syrians, leaving many in limbo. And rapper Jay-Z is taking over Yankee Stadium this weekend with 3 sold-out shows Friday through Sunday. The concerts celebrate 30 years of Reasonable Doubt and 25 years of The Blueprint. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
July is Disability Pride Month, a time to celebrate identity, individuality, and inclusion. Pride means showing up as your full, authentic self without apology. Let's celebrate what makes every one of us unique. Easter Seals Disability Services honors Disability Pride Month. Learn more at socal.easterseals.com.
This isn't a talk show. It's a town hall with no walls. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14.
That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight, only on KBLA Talk 1580. As the poet laureate of Harlem, Langston Hughes, once said, I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll sit at the table when company comes. Nobody dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. KBLA Talk 1580 and the Inner City Youth Orchestra of Los Angeles invite you to attend the 18th season finale concert, I Too Sing America, honoring the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, this Sunday, July 12, 3 p.m. at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. Curated by conductor Charles Dickerson and performed by the largest orchestra of color in the nation, I Too Sing America promises to be a show you won't soon forget. This Sunday, July 12, 3 p.m. at the Walt Disney Concert Hall in downtown Los Angeles. Purchase tickets at icyola.org or from the Music Center box office at musiccenter.org.
I too sing America.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record, the votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Fat Meat Fridays. If you're listening to us on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, or the 110 in Los Angeles, you're not the only one, because Quincy Alexander is listening to us all the way from San Antonio, Texas, as well as Sharon Ashley here in the city of Chicago, and Daniel DeHonormode, grateful to join us from Maitland, Florida. Sarah Matthews says, Diallo, that he should not be able to remove any of the commissioners. That's another question. However, Daniel DeHonormode raises three pretty interesting points. Overturning a Humphreys executor isn't streamlining government. It's removing constitutional firewalls that keep our regulatory agencies independent. He goes on. By turning the FTC and election commissions into direct extensions of the Oval Office, we have created a massive systemic vulnerability. And then he finally says, if our regulatory human firewall is now tied to whoever holds the highest office, what is the first system failure we should expect to see? Diallo, what is the first system failure we should expect to see?
I can't tell you exactly what the first system failure will be, because I think that, we're kind of stepping into some unprecedented times. But I also see that the certification process of the election can be, can have some trouble as it relates to the upcoming election. And I also think it's going to have a deeper impact into the presidential election as well, because that certification, that process has to take place through Congress. But as you look at these elections, they're still functions of the state. The states still control, theoretically, based on the Constitution, elections, even for Congress, because those are elected from the state to then represent that state in Congress. And so I think it's going to be incumbent on states having strong accountability systems on the state level to make sure that their elections function with integrity. But I also think that it allows for the federal government to attack results. And we've seen in certain circumstances where it takes a little bit of time to actually find out who won the election, like in California. It's a huge state, and it takes a lot of work to kind of get through and make sure all the votes are counted. They've tried to get into a process of saying when it takes a long time, something nefarious is going on. And so they want to pour poison into the conversation around really what's happening as a fair election process.
Diallo, what about the machines, though? What about the machines? I mean,
yeah,
if the political judgment of the EAC was nonpartisan, and we don't even know the agency really exists other than it provides the certification for the machines that we use to vote. What if a state decides it doesn't want to use the machines, the same machines that other states are using, or the state comes up with a very different process, or a machinery that could be compromised that's fundamentally different than the other states? I mean, the consequences of what the president is doing are so profound for the Electoral College, because it takes 270 electoral votes to nominate or to become president of the United States.
Correct.
But all it takes is 1, 2, 3, or 4, small rebellious states who swing their electors in another direction to either defeat a locally elected president in the state, by which Donald Trump attempted to do, certifying their own electors independent of what the voters in the state said. And how do we trust the machines if those machines are not certified by the EAC, by some kind of recognizable standards that the other states would agree to?
Right.
I'm baffled by this.
Yeah, it is a baffling process, and at this point, there is no body to actually certify those machines because it basically has been dismantled. What my fear is that they're dismantling it, and they will attempt, this administration will attempt to reconfigure it in a way that benefits them from a partisan and political level, right? Instead of being a kind of this nonpartisan body that is independent, that's able to really make a good judgment evaluation of the systems and tools. And the other piece is the financial piece, because if you look at what this administration has done, what Trump has done, he's also enriched himself and people around him through government money. And so as you start to look at what systems come into place, who has strong relationships with Trump that get contracts or get certified as like, these machines work, these machines are the best machines to use, and they're run by folks that are politically aligned with him, but also are friends in ways that they are able to make money off of our government and our processes that exist. But that's why I also said it's critically important that the states do the work that they need to do to make sure that their systems are as strong as possible. And yes, there can be rogue states, particularly going into the presidential election. There can be lawsuits that push back against states as the certification process of who is elected as president, where those electoral votes go, and who's going to hold accountable this government and the system to be fair as that process takes place. And so, yes, we have to be paying attention. We have to be pushing back. I think there has to be a legal strategy around this as well. My only fear around the legal strategy, and we have to definitely push, is that this court has been tilted for a while as well and has not been necessarily ruling in our favor. I will say with the FCC, or the FEC, or this actually, not the FEC, but this commission,
the EAC.
The EAC, it is going to be important that also we hold accountable Congress as this president seeks to appoint new people, if that's what he chooses to do, to replace this this commission, and holding accountable each of the congressional folks that will have to confirm the folks to be a part of this process, because Congress does have a role and they are responsible for holding this administration accountable.
Yeah, he fired the Democrats and the Republicans.
Right.
I mean, he fired both sides. So even if a Senate accepted his nomination to appoint, let's say the statute says it has to be bipartisan, evenly Democratic and evenly Republican, even if he appointed two Republicans, maybe he doesn't appoint the two Democrats at all. He just leaves it without a quorum. Or he finds someone who's a Democrat who leans in the direction of his authoritarianism. I mean, all of whom have to be approved by the Senate. But I do see a complete collapse in the structure that the federal court gave the President of the United States in Humphrey's executor's decision.
But Jesse, let me say this really, really quickly. This is exactly why elections matter.
Yes.
They matter because folks wanted to sit on the sidelines. Folks were getting into getting into the weeds and the mess. There's a difference of who we could have elected and who we did elect as a nation. And our participation in the process or lack of participation leads to this type of chaos.
No doubt about it. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Diallo Brooks. He is one of the nation's leading education consultants on all issues education, civil, and human rights. He joins us here on Fat Meat Fridays and more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580 in just a moment.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Listen up, KBLA delegation. We have something you need to hear. Right now, you may qualify for low-cost home internet. And we're not talking about a catch. This is real. Many internet service providers offer low-cost internet plans if anyone in your household is enrolled in CalFresh, Medi-Cal, SSI, or is income eligible. There are a lot of families in our community who deserve to be connected. Here's all you do. Call 844-461-7893. That's the Get Connected call center. Real people ready to help you enroll today. Or go online to internetforallnow.org to find a provider near you. You may also qualify for a low-cost computer through Human IT. Connectivity is not a luxury. In 2026, it's a necessity. And you deserve access just like everybody else. Call 844-461-7893. That's 844-461-7893. KBLA's got you. If you missed any of this, you can always go to our website at KBLA1580.com. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 in partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund, CETF.
We got to laugh the pain away.
Join Chris Spencer and Friends live. Chris Spencer and Friends take the stage Sunday, July 12th, 5:30 p.m. at the Alex Theater for Stand Up for Students, a night of comedy benefiting Pasadena Rosebud Academy. Pasadena Rosebud Academy was lost in the Altadena Eaton fire. For over 20 years, they held our kids down. Now it's time for us to hold them up. Chris Spencer and Friends, featuring Reg Thomas, Felicia Folks, Chase Anthony, and Jesus Trejo, with DJ Aisha Irene on the music. One night, big laughs, real community. Join James Farr of KBLA Talk 1580 and be part of a night where laughter meets purpose. Chris Spencer and Friends, Stand Up for Students, Sunday, July 12th at 5:30 p.m. Tickets at the Alex Theater box office and the Alex Theater website at www.thealex.com. TheAlex.com. Chris Spencer and Friends. Don't miss it.
We got to laugh the pain away.
This event is sponsored by Bradlaugh APC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In the last hour, our very special guest has been Diallo Brooks, who has over 25 years' experience in social justice and civil rights advocacy. His fellowship embedded him within the U.S. Department of Education under the Biden administration, where he served as a senior executive championing community and equity-focused policies. Diallo previously served as the senior vice president of programs and advocacy at the Schott Foundation, leading grant-making programmatic initiatives for education equity and justice. A former college basketball standout, Diallo holds a BS degree in political science from Shepherd University. Diallo, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Jesse.
I did want to press, and knowing this is the last segment of our show, the desperation of Black college students entering college in the fall, who've applied to the traditional Ivy Leagues, PWIs. In light of this administration, this is probably the first application process that will have, I would imagine, Diallo, a significant drop-off of Black applicants. What's going on from your perspective in that space right now? Of course, there's a corollary that HBCUs are experiencing higher application rates in this environment as well. But what does it mean when the PWIs are now, and these are state schools that we pay, in some cases, our money to, our taxes to. What does that mean, Diallo?
Well, I think what it means is it limits the access to higher education for our community, because all of our kids can't go to HBCUs. Their capacity is not there to accommodate all of our students that may want to go to college. And so limiting that access to some of these PWI institutions impacts the number of our young people that will actually be able to go to college. And it's also a part of the anti-DEI attacks. And so where some of these universities had been pivoting to take into consideration race as a part of their application or their evaluation process, that has been eliminated, and they're holding it over, the federal government is holding it over those institutions' heads. And so it's scaring a lot of folks off on even making those considerations. And so we'll see the drop in participation. But also part of that drop is also connected to the finances, how much it costs to attend these universities around the country as well, are impacting young people's application processes as well. And also in environments that are conducive to us being successful. We all know that HBCUs are much more successful in producing higher outcomes for Black students in this country. And so, but like I said, I think it limits the options for folks to go into the spaces and places of their choosing. It limits us, and it'll limit the amount of folks that actually attain college degrees going into the future.
I know that when I was in college and I would apply to colleges, I'd send out several dozen applications and letters. And I would imagine that this environment for the high school student who's shopping their letters, that it's far more difficult. I have even heard that the recruitment of PWIs coming to senior class day at public schools and private schools that are predominantly African American have substantially been dropped off in terms of the recruitment to the PWIs, that the chilling effect isn't just in the application process, but it's also in the recruitment process as well. Diallo, we have about 3 minutes before the end of our show. I do have to ask you this question, and I rarely get a chance to do it. One, how can people on our show get in contact with you? How can we support your work? And then finally, with the time that remains, your word of hope.
Well, thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that. You can reach out to me at www.civicvisionstrategies.com. That's my website. You can reach me through the website. It has all of my information to get in contact with me. I'm on social media as Diallo Kamal Brooks on Instagram and on Facebook and other platforms. And also Civic Vision Strategies. So, please reach out if I can be helpful to you or your organization and our policy or strategy or even leadership development. As I look at what I would like to offer as hope, you had a program recently talking about kind of the democratic socialism. I like to talk about it outside of the actual party, Democratic Socialism America, separate from that, but just the emergence of the populist elected officials that are being elected around the country. You look at the mayor of New York. I would even put in that category the mayor of Chicago, the Democratic nominee for mayor of Washington, D.C., all are coming out of this kind of populist movement that is taking place in this country. And people, and particularly young people, are fed up with the status quo, and they are pushing back where they can to elect people that are putting forth agendas that address the real issues that they are facing every day. The high student debt costs, the housing costs, the lack of opportunities around jobs and being able to get jobs, and also creating environments that are conducive to their health and well-being going forward. So as we lean into that, that is something that we can think about of how we address the real issues, the kitchen table issues, the primary issues, the primary functions of government, and really organize to make sure that our voices are front and center. And we push back, no matter how big the mountain is, we push back against the authoritarian systems that we see taking place in this country. It's an opportunity to organize, and it's an opportunity to push for change.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Diallo, thank you for being on our show this week. Look forward to seeing you back again in the not too distant future. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Gina Towns and Liz King when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The family of Black college athlete Nolan Wells is meeting with Reverend Al Sharpton in New York City.
I'm telling you, don't rush to judgment saying it was not racism, because we do not know.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump is calling for records, witness statements, and autopsy results to be released, saying race may be a factor because Nolan was the only Black person in the July 4th group. Haitians and Syrians under temporary protected status lose legal work authorization today after a Supreme Court ruling allowed Homeland Security to end their status. The change affects about 350,000 Haitians and 6,000 Syrians, leaving many in limbo. And rapper Jay-Z is taking over Yankee Stadium this weekend with 3 sold-out shows Friday through Sunday. The concerts celebrate 30 years of Reasonable Doubt and 25 years of The Blueprint. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
July is Disability Pride Month, a time to celebrate identity, individuality, and inclusion. Pride means showing up as your full, authentic self without apology. Let's celebrate what makes every one of us unique. Easter Seals Disability Services honors Disability Pride Month. Learn more at socal.easterseals.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The final game at SoFi Stadium in this year's World Cup is today at noon. Spain and Belgium meet up in the quarterfinals in Inglewood. The last 2 quarterfinals are tomorrow, Norway versus England and Argentina versus Switzerland. The World Cup Championship match is Sunday, July 19th in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Dodgers are back in action tonight. They start a 3-game series at home against Arizona. The Major League Baseball All-Star break starts after Sunday's game. Kawhi Leonard's trade to the Toronto Raptors has been put on hold by the NBA. The NBA said it will not make the trade official until the league completes its investigation into an alleged salary cap scandal involving Leonard. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer is accused of violating salary cap rules to pay Leonard extra money through an outside company. Stay tuned on this mess. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, President and CEO of 519 Productions and the Executive Producer and Creative Director, Program Director for the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. She's also the host of Reflectivity on this weekly series, Fat Meat Fridays, a graduate of Hampton University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Mass Media Arts, Journalism. Gina also earned her Master of Arts degree in Theology and Social Justice from Princeton Theological Seminary. She co-produced the Emmy Award-nominated documentary, Hampton University, One of the Wonders of the World, and as a songwriter, a co-producer, performed her single, Yes, which hit number 26 with a bullet on the Billboard chart. Corporately, she received the 3M Company's highest honor, the Spirit of Quality Award, and I'm honored that she is the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Hey, Gina.
What is going on Fat Meat Friday, Jesse Jr.?
A whole lot, and I'm counting on Liz King to tell us exactly what's going on Fat Meat Friday. Liz King recently served as Education Equity Senior Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, a position she held from 2015 to 2025. In this role, Ms. King led the organization's work to ensure that all students are fully included in welcoming schools from early childhood through post-secondary education that prepared them for college, careers, life, and the full exercise of their social, political, and economic rights. She was a key policy advocate in the office of Congressman Shaka Fattah, where she advised and represented the congressman on education, healthcare, women, children, and family policies. Liz, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Congressman. It's so good to be here and such a treat to be here with Gina, who I don't normally get to see like this, but very
we
excited.
dragged you to Fat Meat Friday, Liz.
I mean, this is where it's at. This is where it's at.
Tenacious Tuesday to Fat Meat Friday. I think that works.
Gina, what are we looking at?
Hey, Liz has a guest with her, and his name is, Los Angeles. Walk with me on this. Are you ready? His name is Joe Worthy. Liz, tell us about Joe Worthy.
So this here is Joe Worthy. He is a community organizer and a community organizer, a trainer of community organizers. So excited. I know, Congressman, for you and for Gina, it's always about bringing back, these big things that are happening in our world. What do they mean for real people? And what does people power look like? And people power is Joe's business. So I thought it would be great to hear from him about what we need to see now, what the people can be doing now, what community organizing looks like in this moment. Obviously, we're talking about Los Angeles, we're talking about Chicago, both cities with incredibly deep and powerful histories of community organizing and transformative change. So excited to introduce you and your listeners to Joe Worthy, our guy in Cleveland.
Joe Worthy is the founder of the Strategic Nonviolence Academy. He has spent more than 15 years in the work, nearly a decade at the Children's Defense Fund, where he prepared more than 5,000 young people in organizing and nonviolence. Internationally, he developed the Climate Justice Fellowship that prepared activists to win campaigns across Africa. At home, his campaigns rewrote police oversight in the Cleveland's city charter and extended postpartum medical coverage for mothers in Mississippi. Joe Worthy, brother, there is not a name more worthy than Joe Worthy. Joe, welcome forward to the show.
Hey, it's nice to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I think we might. Is Joe muted?
I think he's going to have to go out and come back with us,
I think
because
so.
I got a question for him when he comes back about his
Okay.
name.
Brother Worthy is worthy. I mean, he is covering a lot of real estate. Make no mistake about that. Liz, in the meantime, I think you're right. I think that this idea that our movement has to hit the ground where the people are, that matters. And I'm so grateful that you're connecting us with Brother Worthy, who has done some extraordinary work, among other things, in Cleveland. He studied political science at Heidelberg University, served as community fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School. Today, he prepares organizers, clergy, and community leaders in the disciplines of strategic nonviolence action. Liz, where did you meet Joe?
Well, so Joe and I worked together at the Children's Defense Fund with Marian Wright Edelman many years ago. And he, we'll hopefully get to hear from him talk about this, but he is a disciple of Reverend Lawson and sort of brings forward that long tradition of strategic nonviolence in the civil rights movement and the way in which transformative change has happened. I mean, we're in this moment right now, which is just so dispiriting and disempowering, and there's just so much wrong. It just feels like, who am I, a regular person? What power do I have to create change? And I think, what Joe always thinks about and talks about in his strategic nonviolence practice, he runs actually a strategic nonviolence academy as well, and he can talk about that, is this importance of leadership development, the idea that leadership lives everywhere, that leaders come from everywhere, everyone can be a leader, anyone can be great because anyone can serve. And so we look forward to hearing more from Joe about his work, about his academy, and just what is needed now, what can and should the people do, how do we come together to create the transformative change we all deserve.
Joe, we got about 30 seconds before we come forward. And so our longest segment will be right after this break, nearly 18 minutes. And I want you to be prepared to unload on us in that space. But at this moment right now, we've got to pause. We've got to pause
before
to
he
say,
goes.
okay,
no.
All
So,
right.
Joe, all your life, people have said, are you related to, are you the cousin of, is he your uncle? You know who I'm talking about, right?
James Worthy.
James Worthy. Everybody in Los Angeles many of us were Laker fans across the country. And so
Right.
is it or isn't it?
Well, I can tell you this, right? My dad's name is Joe. I have an uncle named James. Never met him before. So who knows?
Well, there you go. We're going to find out. George, during this break.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Meat Fridays with Gina King. Gina Towns. Liz King is our regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And our very special guest is Brother Joe Worthy, when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's sharp. She's fearless. I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how I'm going to get clicks, stop it now. She's that girl, and she's bringing all of that to your radio this summer. Amanda Seales is here. I am Amanda Seales. Comedian, artist, actress, activist, truth teller. The woman who never bites her tongue is coming to KBLA Talk 1580. And baby, the conversations are about to be unmatched. Every Friday, she's going to be lit noon to 2 p.m. and back again 4 to 6 p.m. starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Amanda Seales, keeping it real, keeping it raw, and keeping it rooted. Politics, pop culture, Black excellence, the stuff they don't want us talking about. Amanda's talking about all of it.
You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works.
This is not your average radio show. This is a Seales Summer. Fridays, noon to 2, 4 to 6. Starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't just listen. Tune in.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. Our regular contributor, Liz King, is also joining us. Our very special guest is Joe Worthy. Joe, let me begin the questioning with the spirit of James Lawson and organizing. I can only imagine that at this hour, I knew Dr. Lawson, my father and mother knew Dr. Lawson as well. I can only imagine that the work that you're doing at this hour is nothing less than divine, organizing young people to participate in our various processes in a nonviolent way. Joe?
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I do think it's, I do see it as God's work, right? And going into this work, I really view it as a calling, a vocation, not really a job in a sense. It's something that's really needed in the world. And what really lights me up when I do this work is as you start to talk with and you build relationships with young folks and like all folks around the world, then they start to understand that they have not just a little bit of control, but a lot of control over their futures, over their communities, over the things that they want to see happen in the world. They start to get this spark in their eye, you know? And you see then that they understand that nothing that they want for their families is out of reach. And I think that's probably the most beautiful thing about this process. Of course, it takes some commitment. It takes some grit to get through to that side. But to just see in people's eyes that they know that it's possible, that if they commit to this style of working long enough and with enough diligence, that they'll get there. I think that's the most beautiful thing about it. Yeah, and it is certainly divine to see that in people.
Gina?
Joe, I have a question. You spark something in my thought process as you talk about a spark in people's eyes. Do you think that when you talk about young people and maybe you meet their parents along the way, depending on what age group they're in, do you think there's still a spark in the eye of an older generation? Or has a generation lost hope because of what was not achieved? Can we get the spark back in everybody's eye?
I think so. And actually, it's so funny because I was just talking to well, we don't say former Academy members, we just say Academy members, because once you're in the Academy, you're in the Academy for life, right? And this particular member is doing some really critical work in Idaho. If you've seen everything that's been going on there with ICE enforcement and things like that, some real horrible things happening. But this person is moving into retirement, right? And this trend I've seen, especially in the United States, is that retired people are stepping up. You know, there's definitely a spark in their eye. So I've been saying that they're the new college students. You know what I mean? Like they got a lot of time on their hands, and they got a lot of things they want to see change in the world. And so at least, yes, you know, with older folks who are edging towards retirement, there's definitely that spark. They're looking to learn. They're looking for things to do. And that's a big piece of it. As for everyone else, yeah, I think so. I think, you know, I can speak to the Academy. It's a very intergenerational space, right? So we have everything from people who are just like turning 18 all the way up to like 78. And the big chunk of folks are, I guess what we call tweeners. They're like from 40 to 55. And they're ready to go, you know? And, you know, obviously if you commit to the Academy, which is a pretty rigorous process, you know, I imagine you'd be ready to go. But there are a lot of people who want to get in and do this work. And I think the issue is that these spaces have been reserved just for young people, right? And so we say this all the time, we need to get the young people active, but there are people from age 30 up to 60 that still want to do things, still want to learn things and want to engage. And I think the beautiful thing about those people too is that, you know, they have a lot of other things to offer to movement spaces. They have, you know, resources, they have world and lived experience. And so when we see that intergenerational connection happen, I think that's where the most beautiful collaboration comes out of that process, for sure.
How do you actually bridge that gap when they're in the same space, given technology and, you know, the difference between the newspaper and the nightly news versus TikTok?
Right on. Well, we do it intentionally, right? And so, especially because in the online space, we use a lot of more advanced technology, whether it's like digital whiteboards and things like that. We take the time. And so that's the thing about intergenerational spaces, right? You have to really honor everyone's humanity where they're at and take the time to bring them into the space with intention, right? So, you know, if there's a person, I remember this one woman from the West Coast, she was 78, you know? And I was like, hey, well, we work on this mural board. We'll take the time to, you know, teach you some of these things and you just slow it down, right? And we also create conditions where everyone's a teacher and a learner. So if you're a younger person, you are responsible for bringing on board maybe this older person, right? And if you're an older person with a certain experience in a certain piece, you are responsible for filling the gap in that younger person, right? And so we try to create this dynamic where everyone has something that they can offer, no matter their age, or not even everyone has something they can offer because of their age, because of where they're at in life, right? And so we want everyone to contribute in that sense.
Liz?
Yeah, part of what I think is so compelling here is thinking about strategic nonviolence as an intentional approach to social change, right? And we're in a moment in which there is a lot of social change happening in ways that are profoundly dehumanizing. We are seeing a president who's sort of run amok, breaking the rules all over the place, doing everything he can to make life harder for everybody, no matter who they are. And I think it would be great to hear from you, Joe, to talk about why strategic nonviolence, like why is this the way that you move in the world? What makes it, why do we call it strategic nonviolence? What have we learned in the past? And why do you think that that is such a powerful tool for people to use right now in the face of so much institutionalized violence and oppression?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And I'm going to start with why we call it strategic nonviolence, right? The name of the academy is very intentional because for decades, there's been this sort of divide. I was just having this conversation yesterday between principled nonviolence and strategic nonviolent action, right? And on the one hand, people are thinking about how we live our lives day to day and things like that. On the other hand, people are thinking about all we need is a good strategy, right? And we'll be able to win this thing. The truth is, and what's actually bared out in the data in terms of people who are engaging in movement work is that you actually need both, right? And so the reason why we call it strategic nonviolence is because we work with people who want to develop real, no kidding, hard hitting strategies, right? But also want to do that inner work of figuring out how they can sustain themselves in this movement and actually how they treat each other and how they treat people. Another big part of movement spaces is the conflict that people aren't able to get through, right? And we specifically talk about that, and we talk about beloved community. So why does it matter now? What's happening right now, you can argue, is the most blatant, I'm not going to say most egregious, but it's the most blatant use of presidential power that we've seen in a really long time, right? And in order to combat that, there are certain steps that we need to take, right? There are certain things that we need to do. I'm not going to put these in any particular order because they're all critically important. One of the things that we have to do is we have to prepare ourselves, right? Both our mind and our inner world for a protracted struggle, right? So that means taking the time to do some of the inner work that you need to do to deal with some of the things that come with engaging in strategic nonviolent action like this. I think the next thing that we need to do is develop real hard-hitting strategies. So one of the things that spark people's eyes is when you take them through a strategic process and you're sort of breaking down everything that's going on in their world. And they start to see holes, right? They start to see holes in their oppressors. And they're saying, well, hold on a second. We have the resources, we have the time, and we have the ability to change this thing, right? The only way they get there is if they take the time to break down their strategic situation. And that's a big part of what we do, right? Now, the only way they're going to realize it, right, is if they have the fortitude to deal with the repression, to deal with things like sleepless nights, right? To deal with internal conflict in order to get to the other side of that thing, right? And so that's what's so important about the name. I can't necessarily get into specifics in every particular situation because every situation that I go into or that we engage in is different. But what I can say, the formula is, steal yourself from the inside out. Develop real, no kidding strategic operations, and you have a lot better chance of getting to the other side of what you're trying to do.
Joe, let me ask you this question. You raised the point about principled nonviolence and strategic nonviolence, and I appreciate you making that distinction for us. And then you paralleled it to the idea of how we handled this unusual presidency. Hence, identifying with the resistance movement to what we are looking at with respect to this authoritarian space that we're in. But I'm going to be candid with you and with Liz and with Gina. If we get a president elected with my vote who does not use some of this power to either undo it or to push this country in a direction that it belongs and needs to go to with respect to women's rights, human rights, strengthening the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, repairing the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, reestablishing the Department of Education, allowing the CDC and the NIH to be autonomous when it comes to looking for diseases and making determinations about the importance of vaccines. Listen, if we don't learn anything from what's going on about presidential power, it's that we've not been asking of the Democrats who so-called Liz speak for us to do more. I mean, I feel in this moment like I didn't get much as I love the Obama's 8 years, I feel like I didn't get enough out of Obama. And Joe Biden at 80 years old, strategic nonviolence, hell, he never took a strategic risk. I mean, this guy's got more yesterdays than tomorrows. And so explain to me strategic nonviolence if we do regain control of Congress, if we do regain control of the White House, if we have our way, Liz, you know, someone's going to have to keep some heat on these new normal people. Liz, Joe?
Well, I'm going to say this, and because I've been repeating this with partners in local areas who perhaps have been working on get out the vote in midterms and things like that. You know, the ballot and beyond, right? The ballot and beyond. And the point is that do your GOTV, right? Like do those things to ensure that the electorate shows up and shows out in the way that, you know, they might want it to. But you have to build into your strategy something beyond that process and ensuring that when any of these people get into office and where they want to be, you are building your strategy as through to when they do exactly what it is they need to do, right? And so when we're building strategies, we can't stop on election day, right? Election day is a pit stop in the strategy, right? And then the rest is moving into what do we need to make happen and keeping it at the top of the agenda of those things, right? And so what I would say to the folks is, as you're building out your plans over the next few years, right? Don't stop your plan in November, you know, and continue to follow up. And I think that's a lesson I think we've learned since the Obama administration. You know what I mean? Squeaky wheel gets the grease, and for a lot of people, they weren't squeaking enough, right? And so the utilization of strategic nonviolence in this process is really important. Another dangerous thing that could happen as we move into this space is that some people, you know, that I talk to is like, oh, I wish we could just go back to, you know, when things were normal. It's like, but it was never normal for us, you know? Like we were dealing with mass incarceration. We've got books like The New Jim Crow. We've got books by like Slavery for Another Name. So normal has never been good, you know? So as we develop these strategies, you know, we're developing them towards a new normal to get us to a place to where we haven't been. And in some ways, right, we could see this as a mobilization opportunity, right? But of course, that mobilization doesn't get us anywhere without some strategic outlook.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, Liz King, and Brother Joe Worthy. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Loyal Heights residents in California are demanding answers after weeks of dealing with a warehouse fire and the smell of rotting food. At a tense town hall Thursday, residents booed Black Mayor Karen Bass and chanted, quote, "Clean it up," end quote.
We have offered cash assistance to impacted households.
Many say the city and Lineage Logistics have not done enough. Black Flint, Michigan Mayor Sheldon Neely says the city has met its obligations under the 2016 water lawsuit settlement. He says all lead service lines have been replaced, though residents are still being advised to use water filters. The lawsuit followed Flint's water crisis when a supply switch caused widespread lead contamination. And teams trying to sign free agent LeBron James are reportedly making their pitches through voice notes sent to his agent. ESPN says there's no timetable for a decision. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
July is Disability Pride Month, a time to celebrate identity, individuality, and inclusion. Pride means showing up as your full, authentic self without apology. Let's celebrate what makes every one of us unique. Easter Seals Disability Services honors Disability Pride Month. Learn more at socal.easterseals.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The final game at SoFi Stadium in this year's World Cup is today at noon. Spain and Belgium meet up in the quarterfinals in Inglewood. The last two quarterfinals are tomorrow, Norway versus England and Argentina versus Switzerland. The World Cup Championship match is Sunday, July 19th in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Dodgers are back in action tonight. They start a 3-game series at home against Arizona. The Major League Baseball All-Star break starts after Sunday's game. Kawhi Leonard's trade to the Toronto Raptors has been put on hold by the NBA. The NBA said it will not make the trade official until the league completes its investigation into an alleged salary cap scandal involving Leonard. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer is accused of violating salary cap rules to pay Leonard extra money through an outside company. Stay tuned on this mess. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We love America in spite of, not because of. And that's the deepest kind of love. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including Mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County Sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Unapologetically progressive. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. We don't tell you what to think, just what to think about.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record, the votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is Joe Worthy. Our regular contributor, Liz King, also joins us. Welcome forward to the show, everyone. Joe Worthy.
Hey, Congressman, loving the conversation.
Joe Worthy, I have a question for you about messaging. What kind of messaging in this unique space that we find ourselves in are you using, or do you find most compelling to attract young people or people generally to the idea of organizing?
That's a really good question. And so I'll say this, right? So we just finished a week-long engagement with HBCU students, over 20 HBCU students down at Fisk University, where we brought them together from across the country. And some of the concerns were, would we get any, applications for this? For young Black students to come to this? We were actually overwhelmed with applications. We weren't able to get everyone in who wanted to come and signed up. And the messaging was actually really simple. Like, do you want to win? And they didn't shy away from the idea of strategic nonviolence. They didn't shy away from the work, because we were very clear. Like, this is going to be a hard week, perhaps the hardest week of your life, if you come and you train with us. And they all stepped up to the plate, and they did it. And so I think a lot of the young folks are out there searching, right? I've read a lot of their stories, obviously, because we had an application process and we wanted to get them in. And they're trying to find a way, and I think more to the point, they're trying to find a way in the organizing world with people who look like them, and, I don't hold any punches. The Strategic Nonviolence Academy is a Black-led organization, and there's not many of those from in the nonviolent space, right? And over and over again, the young folks were very, very happy that they were learning this way of engaging in strategic nonviolence from people who look like them. And I think that's part of the message as well, right? Like, we do this, and in a lot of ways, as a people, and I won't, I won't hold any punches here. We've done it, I would argue, better than anyone else in world history as a people, right? In the belly of the beast, if you will, right? So everyone talks about America and abroad and what it does and everything's like that. Like, we were here, right, in the apartheid system and nearly brought it to its knees, right? And I think that's an important thing to understand, that this is in our lineage, this is in our process, and we shouldn't shy away from that. This is what we do, right? So that was the message.
Joe, how different is it from region to region in our country? And are you in touch with other people who are doing something similar? Because I will tell you that listening to you, I haven't really heard anybody describe what they're doing quite the way that you describe it on a community level and engagement with the segments of the population at one time, and forming that bond to work together. I've continually asked that question on this show. How do we bridge the gap between generations, and having a generation in the middle who really didn't have to go through this, but has actually lived the fruit of the civil rights movement and standing on the shoulders of generations that have come before. But how do you engage with people around the country? Because it is different from the South to the Midwest to the East Coast. So what is the strategy, and I know that you are taking some leadership role in it. I just feel it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that one of the ways that we approach it, right? So we've worked with people in LA, right? Headed over to Oregon. There's people in Idaho, the Deep South, like all these different places. And I think what's interesting about how we do it is that though it is very rigorous, all of the processes are based in the lived experiences of the people that we're working with, right? And so we tell them when they come into the process, is like, this isn't a spectator sport, right? We need you to bring your whole self into this space. And that sort of gives them the opportunity to make the space what they need it to be, right? Now, there are some key touch points and things that objectively have to get done, right? As we go through this process, we do need to analyze this, right? We aren't uplifting one culture, but we do need to understand our culture, right? And the role it plays in our movement spaces. And so in that sense, I think we did a really good job of ensuring that we create the dynamic where people can bring their full selves into it, right? And it might sound a little, like out there, but there's not very much that's prescriptive, in the process, right? The only prescription is that you work hard and you focus, right? And then and we guide them through that process. Now, it is different from area to area. Each area is dealing with different things and the same thing. You know what I mean? Like one of the biggest things that people are dealing with in every area is that there's so many different niche issues that people have, that to get the capacity you need to really push a city or a state forward, something's got to give, and everyone needs to start working together, right? And figuring out how we start to work together. And it's a new dynamic in that there's all different sorts of like grant scenarios. There's all different sorts of interests within like all these different people, and we don't shy away from that conversation, right? I think that's what makes us different, right? Like we have to ask the serious question: in what way is our funding streams affecting your ability to be effective here locally, right? In what way do grant requirements get in the way of actually moving real policies forward? And they start to have those conversations and unearth, some real things that are happening. And so very different, also very similar.
When we come forward, I have a question about the individual when they come to your setting. about whether or not they are able to release their trauma and their drama by focusing it elsewhere when it's not turned inward and we can turn ourselves outward. How does that really help everybody?
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. More when we come forward right here at KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
You deserve a treat, a $10 bill credit treat. If you get an LADWP paper bill but go online to pay it, stop! Break up with your mailbox. It's time to go paperless. With paperless billing, bill reminders come straight to your inbox. You can access 7 years of past bills in your online account, and you don't have to deal with paper clutter piling up. It's a win for you, your time, and the environment. $10 bill credit for new LADWP paperless billing signups. LADWP.com/paperless.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found Tax Relief Advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8935. 800-575-8935. That's 800-575-8935.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for. Open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure. Take it for a spin.
There's no fees or minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bank guide for details. Capital One and a member FDIC.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And before we continue our final segment on this Fat Meat Friday, I have some fairly exciting news. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show will remain in its regularly scheduled hours Monday through Thursday. But starting next Friday from 12 to 2, there will be a new show right here at KBLA Talk 1580. And on August 1st, the show presently hosted by Gina Towns, known as Fat Meat Fridays, will be live on Saturdays and played again on Sundays. And it will either be Fat Meat Fridays or it will be Sizzling Saturdays or Sizzling Sundays. We're not quite clear yet, but I want to congratulate Gina for her hard work. She will have her own show that's tied by definition directly to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. But most importantly, Gina's personality is going to help strengthen KBLA on the weekends. Gina, how do you feel about that?
Hey, well, I am very excited. I am very grateful. First, always to God and to Tavis Smiley, who is the God of KBLA Talk 1580. I'd like to thank you, Jesse, as well for entrusting me with the production and direction of the show. For those who know where the stars are, Jesse Jackson Jr. is a 5-star rated show. And of course, Tavis Smiley, as you've heard throughout the commercials, is number 14 amongst all radio hosts in Radio Land. So we congratulate not only the station, but everyone there, and certainly to Taz, who is our engineer here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Thank you. And to Miles and Andy, who are our engineers at KBLA. We thank you, Liz, for being one of those people who has been a bright light on the show. And we look forward to moving to, I'll tell you, Sizzling Saturday on into Sunday. And as we transition, we can't be Fat Meat Friday anymore. So this is our final segment on the Fat Meat Friday series.
I'm also very excited for Liz King because it is my hope, my sincere hope, that Liz will be a regular contributor on one of the shows between Monday through Thursday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. She is so bright. She is so well-spoken, so thoughtful, has a wealth of experience that matters to everything that we do right here on our show and our activism. Liz, thank you so much, and congratulations to you as well.
Thank you so much, Congressman. And just again, to make sure Gina gets all her flowers for this show and all of the work that she does across the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I mean, we are in a moment in which people are being denied access to information. They're being denied opportunities for thoughtful and meaningful conversation. And I know that the both of you are stepping in to fill that void, and just incredibly grateful to both of you and the opportunity to be a small part of that.
Joe, before we get to your final word of hope, I do have to ask you this question. How is it that our listeners who are driving right now on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, and the 110 in Los Angeles, but we're also getting feedback from Florida, Georgia, and Texas on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show today? How can we be supportive of your work?
That's a really great thing. I think the biggest thing is spread the word about the Academy. We want to touch the lives of so many people here in the United States. Spread strategicnonviolenceacademy.org. And the biggest thing is to come learn with us, right? So we believe in a teacher-learner relationship. So I learn from people as much as they feel like they learn from me. And the more that we can have a community space where we're all growing and learning together, I think the better, right? So engage in the process so that we can engage in the world in a more meaningful way, I hope.
Liz, any final thoughts for Joe and Gina before I ask Joe and give him this moment and mentally to prepare himself for a 2-minute word of hope to our listening audience? Liz?
Yeah, I will say, Congressman, I'm now, what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to go read From Protest to Politics, and I'm going to go think about Bayard Rustin. And you brought forward this question of how do we hold our leaders accountable? How do we ensure that as much bad is happening now, even more good happens in the future? What can each one of us do in our roles with whatever tools we have at our disposal to create the world each of us deserve? And so I'm really looking forward to that. Appreciate always this conversation and this show. We'll hand it back to you, but I have my reading list is now adding that brilliant essay from Bayard Rustin as we challenge his idea that we need either the protest or the politics when we always know that we need both.
Joe, I'm going to reverse the order. I'm going to ask you for your word of hope, because I think this being the last Fat Meat Friday, that Gina should have the final word. Joe, your word of hope to the nation.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I would say my word of hope is that we've been here before, and through sticking together, through keeping our eye on the prize, we've been able to get through the hardest of times. There has been, I have seen a lot of horrible things that have happened around the world in this work of strategic nonviolence. And I think one thing that remains true is that people with the right why can endure almost any how, right? And if we stabilize ourselves, and if we stick with each other, and if we engage with each other, love each other, and think with each other, we will get to the other side. I've been telling people that I'm going to stop calling it faith, because I think the universe, God, however, whatever your persuasion is, has showed up every time on time, right? And if we just continue to do our part, we'll get to exactly where we need to be.
We're very proud of you, Joe. Thank you for your work. Looking forward to having you back on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Gina, you've gotten a lot of flowers today, and you've gotten a lot of flowers for the last couple of years on this show. Gina, a final word of hope as you transition to even bigger and better things and continue to produce us Monday through Thursday. Gina.
I appreciate these days, I think, is why Jesse and I continue to do this, wanted to do this, and are grateful to do this. But Joe, you just said something. I love when people say things that I can then quote them on. People with the right why will be victorious with the right how. Can you say that one more time so I can have that under my hat, and so can all of our listeners take that? That's the real hope right there.
Oh yeah, people with and it's not my quote, but people who know their why can endure almost any how, and so that's going to get us through.
There you go. People who know their why will get them through their how. And that is kind of major for what we're in right now. But I do want to say one last thing, and that is keep hope alive.
Thank you, Gina. Reinhold Niebuhr at his very best. Thank you, Joe Worthy. Liz, thank you so much. And Gina, thank you for all that you've done to make the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show work, to make it possible. Looking forward to spending all of our weekends on Saturday and Sunday, sizzling Saturday and Sunday. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.